All right, we're going to talk about something called portal hypertension. And to really get our heads around this, I want you to imagine the worst traffic jam you can think of. A complete standstill. Now, what if I told you that exact thing was happening right now inside your own body?
So let's really lean into this idea. Think about the veins in your abdomen like a huge city's road system. Most of the time, traffic's flowing just fine. But if a major highway gets blocked, what happens? Cars back up for miles, pressure starts building, and pretty soon, you've got total chaos. Well, that's exactly what portal hypertension is. A really dangerous circulatory blockage that's all centered around one of our most critical organs, the liver.
So, before we can really understand the gridlock, we have to see how the system is supposed to work. Let's take a look at the liver's highway system and what that normal, healthy flow looks like.
Okay, so this right here is our main highway, the portal vein. And this isn't just any old vein, it's a superhighway. Its whole job is to collect all the nutrient-rich blood from your digestive system, your stomach, your intestines, and shoot it straight to the liver. The liver then acts like this incredibly advanced processing plant, detoxifying, metabolizing, and getting all those nutrients ready for the rest of your body.
Now, when everything is working perfectly, the pressure inside this portal vein highway is super low and stable. We're talking right around 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury. Think of it like driving on the freeway at 3 in the morning. No traffic, smooth sailing, zero stress on the system. Everything just works.
But what happens when something goes wrong? When there's a blockage, that beautiful smooth flow grinds to a halt. Pressure starts to build, and all of a sudden, we've got gridlock.
And here it is, the official diagnosis. Portal hypertension. It's what we call it when that pressure inside the portal vein climbs up over 10 millimeters of mercury. This is the clinical term for that dangerous circulatory backup we've been talking about. The main highway to the liver is now officially totally jammed.
So how do doctors figure out just how bad the jam is? Well, they use a special tool called the hepatic venous pressure gradient, or HPPG for short. You can think of this as the tool the traffic police use. It's measuring the pressure difference between that jammed portal vein and another major vein. When that difference, that gradient, is more than 5 mmHg, boom, the diagnosis is confirmed. It is the single most accurate way to know just how bad that backup really is.
Okay, so if we have a massive traffic jam, the next logical question is, where's the roadblock? We've got to find the cause.
It turns out the roadblock can happen in one of 3 main places. It can be prehepatic, which means the problem is before the blood even gets to the liver. It can be hepatic, where the problem is right inside the liver itself, or it can be posthepatic, which is a backup that happens after the blood has already passed through the liver.
And you can see some examples here. For a prehepatic cause, you could be looking at a blood clot in the portal vein. For posthepatic, it might be something like severe congestive heart failure, causing a backup that goes all the way back to the liver. But, and this is really the key takeaway, the most common place for that roadblock is hepatic, smack dab inside the liver. Things like cirrhosis, for example, create scar tissue that makes the liver stiff and hard, making it incredibly difficult for blood to push its way through.
When a highway's totally blocked, what do drivers do? They start looking for detours, right? Side streets, back roads, anything to get around the jam. Well, our body does the exact same thing, but these biological detours, they can be incredibly dangerous. All that backed up blood has to go somewhere. It can't just sit there. So it starts forcing its way into these much smaller, more delicate veins that connect the portal system to the rest of our circulation. You really have to picture these as tiny, winding country roads. They were never, ever designed to handle the massive volume or pressure of a major highway.
And this is where things get really, really serious. Those overstressed country roads start to swell up, becoming what doctors call varices, especially in the esophagus. They're like these incredibly fragile balloons stretched to their absolute limit. If they burst, it can cause a massive, life-threatening bleed. But that's not all. The pressure also literally forces fluid out into the abdomen, causing a condition called ascites. The spleen gets congested with blood and starts to enlarge. And because the liver can't do its job of detoxifying the blood, toxins like ammonia build up, travel to the brain, and can cause confusion and a serious decline in brain function. We call that hepatic encephalopathy.
Now, this whole internal crisis doesn't stay hidden forever. Eventually, all that pressure starts to create some very clear and very visible warning signs on the outside. One of the most striking signs is this, caput medusa. It's actually named after the snake-haired Medusa from Greek mythology, and when you see it, you totally get why.
It's this startling web of swollen, visible veins that spread out from the belly button. This is a direct, external sign that the body is desperately trying to reroute all that backed up blood through those tiny little veins. As the liver's function gets worse and worse, the signs become more severe. There's one called fetor hepatitis, which is a very specific, sweet, musty odor on the breath. One medical text describes it in a pretty unforgettable way. It smells like a freshly opened corpse. It's a really chilling sign of just how severe the liver failure has become.
And other signs also start to paint a clear picture. You get jaundice, which is the yellowing of the skin and eyes, because the liver can't process a substance called bilirubin anymore. You might see spider angiomas, these little spider-like blood vessels on the skin. Swelling in the ankles, or edema, is also really common, as is a general tendency to bleed or bruise easily, because the liver just isn't making enough of the proteins that help your blood clot.